What's happening, world? Another one. Fights we didn't get to see. Yes, indeed. This is what we doing today. Fights we didn't get to see, man. And I'm about to take you back. I'm about to take you back to an era which was great boxing. You know what I mean? I'm about to take you back to an era. The 40s, the 1940s were known for a great era in middleweight history. You had the Tony Zell and Rocky Graciano fights. You had guys like Jake LaMotta, you know what I mean? Ray Robinson was on the come up, about to step into the the middleweight realms in the early 50s, Jake LaMotta, the 40s was a golden age for the middleweight division, you know what I mean? Yes, indeed. So, what we doing today, man? We about to take you back. Yes, indeed. To 1949, you know what I mean? End of 1949, we talking about I'm sorry, fights we didn't get to see. Jake LaMotta, the challenger versus the champion, none other than Marcel Cerdan. Jake LaMotta is an Italian American guy from the Bronx. You know what I mean? A guy who knew guys like Rocky Graciano, grew up with Rocky Graciano, went to reform school with Rocky Graciano. I guess both of them were troubled youths. But Rocky Graciano from the Bronx, man, is has one of the best chins in boxing history. You know what I mean? Was a great fighter in his time. The very first man to beat Sugar Ray Robinson. You know what I'm saying? So Marcel Cerdan is a guy from Algeria, born in Africa, in Algeria. Or I guess at the time, before I guess Algeria gained independence from France, it was a French colony. You know what I mean? I think it was some called like the French Algeria or something. And Marcel Cerdan plied his trade in Morocco, Algeria, started boxing in Africa. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people associate him with being French, just like guys like, what's the guy's name? Um, what's the guy's name? Um, the soccer player. What's that guy from France? Zinedine Zidane. You know what I mean? These guys were born in Africa, but they went and plied their trade in France. But really and truly, the man Marcel Cerdan started boxing in Morocco. You know what I mean? And Algeria, Northern Africa. You know what I'm saying? Before he migrated to France. You know what I'm saying? You check it. So while he was plying his trade in Algeria and Morocco, by the way, were French territories. You know what I mean? France colonized these two northern African countries. You know what I'm saying? So Marcel Cerdan, man, had a very interesting story. You know what I mean? This was a guy who was a former European welterweight champion, European middleweight champion. You know what I'm saying? A guy who has a record of 113 wins and only 4 losses. You know what I'm saying? And 66 of those 113 wins come via KO. You know what I mean? He's a very good fighter, you know what I'm saying? And, it's unfortunately how the man ended his life, but we're going to talk about his greatness and this fight that was supposed to happen, the rematch. Marcel Cerdan versus Jake LaMotta, you know what I'm saying? The Raging Bull or the Bronx Bull, Jake LaMotta from the Bronx, you know what I mean? And like I said, end of 1949 was when we were supposed to get this rematch, you know what I'm saying? Jake LaMotta, like I told you, man, the very first man to beat Sugar Ray Robinson, you know what I'm saying? And that was that a welterweight or middleweight? I know it was before the man Sugar Ray Robinson became a middleweight champion of the world. They fought 6 times with Rocky Marciano. I'm sorry, Jake LaMotta only winning one fight out of the 6 times they fought, and that was the very first time they fought. Okay, so Jake LaMotta, like I said, they'd fought. He'd fought the man Marcel Cerdan the very first time, and he beat him. You know what I mean? The man Marcel Cerdan became a champion when he stopped. What's the guy's name? Tony Zale, a great middleweight fighter from the 40s. You know what I mean? Tony Zale's a guy from Gary, Indiana. And I'm saying, and that's the guy who. That's how the man Marcel Cerdan became a world champion. You know what I mean? By stopping him, I believe, what was it, in the 12th round? You know what I mean? Knocked out the man Tony Zell in the 12th round in Jersey City, New Jersey. Okay, so now the world champion is the man you see right there on the film, and that's the man Marcel Cerdan. You know what I mean? This is probably after he beat Tony Zell and came back to France. Came back to France, as you can see on the film. 300,000 people awaited the new middleweight champion of the world, Marcel Cerdan, in Paris, France. You know what I mean? And the man was a celebrity. You know what I'm saying? And while he was a world champion, you know what I mean, he was very popular in the Paris scene, was a celebrity. He was married and had 3 children, but all the time while he was married, while he was a world champion, he had a brief affair with a famous singer by the name of Edith Piaf. You know what I'm saying? And their affair was short-lived. It lasted from summer of 1948 until when he passed away in 1949. You know what I mean? And they were dedicated to each other. And the lady Edith Piaf had a song called Jaime Lemire, and there was a song dedicated to the man Marcel Cerdan. You know what I'm saying? They were deeply in love. You know, and actually, we're gonna get into this, man. Let's get into this. You know what I mean? Marcel Cerdan is a great fighter. But when he beat the man Tony Zale, he had a couple title defenses. You know what I mean? I know one of the guys he fought was Dick Turpin. I forgot. I think Dick Turpin is the younger brother, maybe older brother of Randy Turpin. A guy who beat Ray Robinson in London for the middleweight title of the world. You know what I mean? You check it. So big ups to the man Marcel Cerdan. You know what I'm saying? That's how he became a champion, by beating the man Tony Zale. Had a couple title defenses. Now he's coming back to the United States, to Detroit, Michigan. And that's where he fought the man Jake LaMotta, you know what I'm saying? For the middleweight title of the world. The man Marcel Cerdan, you know, unfortunately for him in the fight, the man dislocated his shoulder, separated his shoulder when he got thrown to the canvas by the man Jake LaMotta. As you can see right there, the man Marcel Cerdan actually braced his fall with his shoulder and separated his shoulder in round one. You know what I'm saying? He won round two, Marcel Cerdan, even with the separated shoulder. You know what I'm saying? According to accounts, the man even won round five. You know what I mean? But, unfortunately for him, he could only fight with one arm, you know what I'm saying? And he was pretty limited, you know what I mean? The man only had one arm. What could he really do with one arm, you know what I'm saying? And not to mention, he was a 2-1 favorite coming into that fight um, with the man Jake LaMotta, you know what I mean? You check it, 2-1 favorite. But unfortunately, with the dislocated shoulder, the man really couldn't do much of anything, you know what I'm saying? Especially fighting a tough, rugged fighter with the iron cast jaw like the man Jake LaMotta, you know what I'm saying? So after the man got injured in his, you know what I mean, he's got his left shoulder separated. The guy was, just basically fighting with one arm. And after the ninth round, going into the 10th round, the guy didn't. He retired on his stool. Something like Kostya Tszyu versus Ricky Hatton. Something like Joe Frazier versus Muhammad Ali. Thriller in Manila. He didn't report out for the 10th round due to the doctor's advice and his corner. and he lost his middleweight title of the world to the man Jake LaMotta. You know what I mean? And just like that, Marcel Cerdan is no longer a world champion. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate that the man had to get his shoulder separated. But another fact that a lot of people don't talk about in that particular fight with Jake LaMotta and what's his name? Marcel Cerdan was the man. Jake LaMotta fractured his right hand in the fifth round. You know what I'm saying? He fractured his right fist. So he also was fighting under duress. You know what I mean? And just had to weather the storm. You know what I mean? But I'm pretty sure. I've had a separated shoulder till this day, man. It's still a problem. But I know how. I'm assuming that fighting with a fractured hand and as opposed to fighting with a separated shoulder, those are two gruesome injuries, you know what I mean? But I think fighting with the separated shoulder, man, you're in no man's land, man. It's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be too hard for a man to even be able to lift his arms up, you know what I mean? He's gonna be in incredible pain, you know what I'm saying? So the man Marcel Cerdan lost his world title due to him separating his shoulder in the fifth round, you know what I'm saying? Yes, indeed. So with that being said, there was a rematch, and the rematch was due for, I believe, it was the end of 1949. You know what I'm saying? Um, it was scheduled for September 28 in 1949. The first fight was in June of 1949 in Detroit, Michigan. The second fight was scheduled for September 28th, 1949, but Jake LaMotta had injured his shoulder 6 days before the fight. Then the fight was rescheduled for December 2nd. Okay. Now Marcel Cerdan was in on his way to the United States to train for this rematch. Okay. But unfortunately, he caught a flight. He caught a flight and he was about to fly to New York and visit his celebrity girlfriend, the Edith Piaf lady. Okay. You know what I mean? He wanted to see her before he gets into training, so he decided to catch a flight to New York rather than take what was originally scheduled a boat trip from France to New York City. You know what I mean? The man decided to catch a flight on October 27th, and unfortunately for Marcel Cerdan, man, the man passed away on the man passed away in a flight in an airplane crash. You know what I mean? The plane crashed in the Azores, you know what I mean? I guess that's in Portugal on October 27th, 1949, when he was on his way back to USA to train for the rematch against Jake LaMotta, you know what I mean? So the man passed away on an airplane flight, you know what I mean? He usually catches a boat to the United States, you know what I mean, or a ship, whatever. He comes by sea. But this time I guess he wanted to get there in time to see his girlfriend and maybe, you know, time is money, and he had to train, so maybe he wanted to go see his girlfriend Edith Piaf, or the lady he was having an affair with, and then get to training. But unfortunately, man, the man passed away in that tragic accident, and the whole France was crushed. This was a national hero. Imagine 300,000 people came to visit to see the man when he came back to France with his middleweight title that he beat off for Tony Zell. So the whole country of France was in mourning, you know what I mean? They were in mourning, and it was a sad situation, you know what I mean? And we never got to see the rematch, and hence why I'm doing this video. Fights we didn't get to see. Marcel Cerdan versus Jake LaMotta, the rematch, you know what I'm saying? That was supposed to be happening on December 2nd in Chicago, Illinois, you know what I'm saying? Yes, indeed. So, how do I see this fight going? You know what I mean? Both guys are about 5'7". I couldn't quite get the reach of the man Marcel Cerdan, you know what I mean? But I know the reach of the man Jake LaMotta is about 67 inches, you know what I mean? Both guys are almost similar in the way they fight. They used to call Jake LaMotta, I'm sorry, Marcel Cerdan, kind of like he was like a middleweight Rocky Marciano, a guy who hits you everywhere. You know what I'm saying? A guy who's, you know, a tough, rough, and rugged customer, you know what I mean? A come forward fighter, a guy who also has a chin, but a guy who is a brutal puncher, you know what I mean? You check it, and while the man Jake LaMotta, he himself, he had a beautiful left hand where he leads off with left hooks. Uses his jab, throws his right hand. There's also a punches and bunches. You know what I mean? And I think this fight would have been a great fight. You know what I mean? Two rough and rugged type of fighters. You know what I mean? This type of fight, it would have been war. You know what I'm saying? Real talk, it would have been war. You know what I mean? Um, Jake LaMotta, the man was losing a couple rounds to the man Marcel Cerdan, and Marcel Cerdan had only one hand. You know what I mean? And I think Jake LaMotta, as you can see there on the film, this is when he fought Marcel Cerdan, and you see Marcel Cerdan, is only using his right hand. You know what I mean? And he's winging right hand punches. You know what I'm saying? But I think a man like if they were both healthy, no fractured wrist from Jake LaMotta, no separated shoulder from the man Marcel Cerdan, I think the fight would go. It'd be a tough fight, but I think that the man Jake LaMotta, I'm sorry, Marcel Cerdan, when he's not injured, he's a tough fighter. You know what I mean? I think he'd be tying him up, making the man Jake LaMotta have to set up his punches. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Slipping punches, you know what I mean? Standing in the pocket, blocking punches, throwing punches and landing on whether it's Jake LaMotta's wrists, his arms, forearms, just anywhere he could touch him up, you know what I mean? And I do believe just by the his KOs, you know what I mean? 66 KOs, I believe he would be the heavy hitter in this particular fight, you know what I'm saying? I think he would definitely have the harder punches than the man Jake LaMotta, you know what I mean? Jake LaMotta is a guy, like I said, I'm saying he's a guy who's lost to smaller guys like Ray Robinson. Now, I know Ray Robinson is the GOAT. Ray Robinson is Sugar Ray Robinson. You know what I mean? But I think Jake LaMotta, man, would have a tough time fighting a healthy Marcel Cerdan. You know what I mean? I think Jake LaMotta would win some rounds. I think there would be cuts. I think it'd be a bloody affair. Both guys would be cut. You know what I mean? Do I think any guy will hit the canvas? If anybody might hit the canvas, maybe it's Marcel Cerdan, but I believe he gets up because Jake LaMotta got an iron cast chin. You know what I mean? But I think Jake LaMotta would win some rounds by, being the combination puncher he is and just, you know, throwing them lead left hooks, you know what I mean? And lead left hooks and straight right hands behind it. But overall, I think Marcel Cerdan was a better fighter, you know what I mean? Just how he dispatched the man Tony Zell, that was a thing of beauty, you know what I'm saying? Rocky Graciano, I'm sorry, Marcel Cerdan, you know, the guy was, the way he dispatched Tony Zell, you know what I mean? And Tony Zell was a tough fighter too, you know what I mean? A tough fighter. All those middleweights, like I said, from the 40s, Jake LaMotta, Marcel Cerdan, you know what I'm saying? These were tough dudes, you know what I mean? You know, the man Jake LaMotta had even fought guys like Frank Fritzy Zivic. I think he had definitely by far fought the better competition. You know what I'm saying? Jake LaMotta, you know what I mean? Definitely because the man Marcel Cerdan was plying his trade mostly over there in what you call it in Europe, in France, and the competition out there wasn't better than the fighters that Jake LaMotta was fighting. You know what I mean? But I think that the man Jake LaMotta would have a tough time fighting this guy Marcel Cerdan, a motivated Marcel Cerdan who would be trying to regain back his title, and I think he'll beat him with accumulation, and he'll wear him down. You know what I mean? He'll wear him down, and I think he wins this particular fight. 15-round fight. I think he wins it about 10 rounds to 5 in favor of the man Marcel Cerdan. You know what I mean? It'll be a tough, close. The rounds where Marcel Cerdan, I'm sorry, Jake LaMotta will win. I think he'll win him convincingly. But overall, I just think the accumulation of the power shots by the man Marcel Cerdan will win him the fight. You know what I'm saying? So I think Jake LaMotta will lose his world title to the man Marcel Cerdan. Marcel Cerdan will regain his title. And you never know, fights we didn't get to see, rather than having Ray Robinson massacre and punish Jake LaMotta in Chicago in the St. Valentine's Day massacre, you never know. If Marcel Cerdan never passed away, we would be seeing Marcel Cerdan versus Ray Robinson. You know what I mean? So I think Marcel Cerdan wins this particular fight and takes the titles back to France and be regarded as one of the best middleweights of that era. You know what I mean? Rather than just having a couple title defenses and losing to a great fighter who's in the Hall of Fame. Both guys are in the Hall of Fame, as a matter of fact. Rather than losing to the man Marcel, Rocky Marcial, Jake LaMotta. I think he would have beat him in the rematch to avenge back his title because he won a couple rounds with a separated shoulder. I think Marcel Cerdan would do great if he was in full health and had both his shoulders and everything working right. B Marsh Boxing, leave your thoughts and comments. Let me know how you guys see this fight. You think the man Marcel Cerdan will get back his title, or you think Jake LaMotta will retain his title? B Marsh Boxing, leave your thoughts and comments. I'm gone. Peace.